Lydia Wakefield Hubbard, feet running and bare. And I have two more interesting things to tell you. I have, when I was working as a registered nurse at Sheri Torah congregation, it's a rest home and a retirement center, my supervisor came to the nurse's desk one morning at 8 o'clock, Jim Sturgis, and he said, "I had a dream about you last night, Lydia." And the other nurses said, "What was it?" And he said, "I dreamed you were a little girl in the house with your mother, and you were running around looking for your shoes." And he said, "And the house had a screen porch." And I said, "That's scary." He said, "I'm the one that's scared." And so anyway, I wrote a poem. I learned from my Uncle High in Denver, my mother's brother, that we lived at Sterling, Colorado, in the Gardner house that had a screen porch when I was a little girl, before I was 4 years old, before we moved to Yuma, Colorado. And my dad worked in the machine shop there or something. And so once there was a little white house with paint peeling and bare, a couple of trees, a mulberry bush, brown grass surrounding it there. On one end of the little white house you could see a pretty little screen porch where family and friends might be. One blissful day, as the rays of the sun were dancing in, I saw a woman and little girl running to and fro. Oh yes, trouble was to begin. Both were dressed in flower-sack dresses of pink and blue. Little girl cried, "Mother, oh dear, what shall I do?" "I can't find my shoes," she said. "They're nowhere to be found. And when I play outside in bare feet, what hard, hard ground." "My little girl," Mother said, "your shoes are gone for good. You must stay inside with me for now. We both know you should." And so little girl, with her feet running and bare, decided to stay inside the house with the screen porch to share her time with Mother. And then, during the end of my nursing career, because I had Bill to take care of, I worked at the convalescent center before you get to Rose Villa, Milwaukee something. And it's a care center. It has 3 stories. And they have the first 2 stories. The first story, they have over 50 beds. And there was an LPN that was in charge when the nurse on duty was off. She worked 4 nights a week. And so I relieved her on the bottom floor on her 2 nights. And then on the second floor, since I was an RN with a degree, you had to be that because they had controlled substances in the medicine cabinet. And it was skilled care. And they had IVs and blood transfusions and things like that. So they needed an RN. And so I covered for the nurse on duty on her 2 nights off. So when anybody would need some controlled medicines from the first floor, they had to go up to the second floor to get it and sign it out. So one night, I was on the second floor, and the LPN named Mary came up on the second floor to sign out a medicine for something the doctor had ordered. And we chatted a little bit. And she had been in the same LPN class that I had, but she had come from the South. But I never knew her in the LPN class, but I heard she was there. But she never went on with her education like I did. She stayed in LPN, but she was a good LPN. Anyway, we chatted, and I told her my maiden name, and she told me her maiden name. And I said, "I once knew someone by that name." I said, "Her name was Martha Harriet," and I said the last name, Eber or something. I can't remember. I shouldn't quote it. Anyway, when I said that to her, beet red, so red that you could see through her mouth to the back of her throat. And at the back of her throat, there was signs that when she was a teenager, she had severe acne. And the girl that lived in our house in Yuma, Colorado, the hired girl that my dad got pregnant, and he had to run out of town to another state, that was the girl. And she knew I recognized her. And after that, she started bad-mouthing me all over the place. And nobody knew. I didn't tell anybody. But I told the family. I told my brothers, and they thought it was kind of funny that I would run into her after 50 years. And she knew me. But I didn't change my name. But she changed her name. She changed her looks. She went from Colorado to the south, to Oregon, to Molalla, where she was living, and she got sick and died. She was living with her son, and she had another son in California. I suppose it was a half-brother to me. I don't know. I didn't ask. I didn't ever talk to her about this. I didn't admit anything, but it was her. Isn't that weird?
Well, that's very, very unusual, very strange.
And I have to tell it.
Mm-hmm.
She's dead now. And when she died, I sent a sympathy card to her son in Molalla from the Jewish Federation of Greater Portland, anonymous. And Ellen, who worked with Mary and me on our days off, I kept contact with her for a while until she made fun of me being Jewish. And she called me one time and said, I know why you wanted to be Jewish, because you wanted to be Jewish. I said, well, that's why I became Jewish. And she said, she was living out by the bomber. I can't go visit her. She's in her 90s, and I can't take a cab out that far, and I don't want to see her anyway. She's curious to what happened between Mary and me. Mm. But I wouldn't tell her. Mm-hmm. She can read it on the internet.
Well, I'm Louise Bouchard. I direct Voices Set Free, which provides services to sexual assault survivors as well as family members. And I just want you to know that Lydia and I have become good friends over a period of time, probably about a year by now, and that we are available to come out to your programs and do speaking engagements. We'd like to make sure that Lydia has that opportunity to have the conversations with people, the face-to-face interactions. Our program is available to get help through, and we're a good team. So feel free to see this tape on Voices Set Free webpage as well. The number to call is 503-997-8041. So here we are, Lydia, ready to go, aren't we?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You can purchase Feet Running and Bare by Lydia Wakefield Hubbard by contacting Louise Bouchard at louisebouchard@gmail.com. This video was filmed and edited by Virginia Jones of Compassionate Gathering. If you want to share your story, please contact Virginia at 503-866-6163 or compassion500@gmail.com. Compassionate Gathering offers private mentoring and support groups for listening and learning self-healing skills. We also offer walks for healing and raising awareness about abuse called the Walk Across Oregon. Louise Bouchard, the founder of Voices Set Free, is a pioneer in the domestic violence and child sex abuse movements. She founded the first domestic violence services in the state of Missouri in 1976. She wrote a book called Voices Set Free about women in prison who were victims of child sex abuse or domestic violence or both. Thank you for watching.